Have you ever wondered if it's truly possible to enjoy your meals without feeling like you're stepping into a minefield of blood sugar spikes? Many people over 65, especially those living with diabetes, often face this exact challenge. It can feel disheartening to hear the same advice over and over. Cut this, limit that, avoid all your favorite flavors, only to still struggle with maintaining stable blood sugar levels. Even when you do everything right, there's that lingering worry. Is it enough? Is there a simpler, more satisfying way to eat that helps keep diabetes under control? That's exactly why I want to talk with you about quinoa today. Quinoa, an ancient seed that cooks and tastes like a grain, is gaining popularity among seniors seeking to manage their diabetes more effectively while still enjoying tasty, filling meals. It's not a magic bullet, there are no miracle cures, but quinoa might just offer a valuable new path for many who feel stuck with limited menu options. One of the biggest challenges for older adults with diabetes is finding foods that are both gentle on blood sugar and truly enjoyable. After all, food is one of life's great pleasures, and you deserve to relish every bite. The need for consistent nourishment grows even more urgent when you consider how energy levels, muscle strength, and overall health can shift after 65. It's not just about reading nutrition labels more carefully. It's also about maintaining a balanced approach to carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Quinoa stands out as a nutrient-dense staple that checks several boxes at once: rich in fiber, moderate in protein, and naturally gluten-free. Addressing this issue matters because achieving more stable blood sugar not only helps you feel better day to day, but it can also reduce the risk of complications that might limit your independence later on. In today's conversation, you'll discover fresh insights into why quinoa could be a diabetic-friendly choice for those who want to keep living life on their own terms. You'll learn how it provides sustained energy without the steep spikes and crashes often associated with more refined carbohydrates. You'll also uncover strategies to make quinoa part of your regular meals without sacrificing variety or flavor. Whether you're cooking for one, sharing a meal with loved ones, or looking for a quick, healthy addition to the foods you already enjoy, there's a way to make quinoa work for you. By the end, you'll have practical steps to incorporate quinoa into your diet and see how it might just elevate your overall well-being, both physically and emotionally. I've witnessed many older adults transform their culinary routines with small but meaningful dietary changes, like swapping out white rice or pasta for a hearty bowl of quinoa. It's not about overhauling your entire lifestyle overnight. Instead, it's about exploring an option that's surprisingly versatile, nutritious, and in many cases, quite accessible. Of course, it's important to consider any personal health factors and medications. Always consult with your healthcare provider to tailor these insights to your specific needs. My hope is that this information empowers you to take a proactive approach to your health while still savoring the joy that good food can bring. As you're listening, think about your most recent meal. Was it satisfying? Did it leave you feeling energized, or did you find your energy fading soon after? Keep these questions in mind, and let's dive into what makes quinoa so special, how it can help support better blood sugar management, and the practical steps you can take to cook it right in your own kitchen. Let's start by challenging a familiar assumption that many people have. Healthy grains all have about the same effect on blood sugar. It's easy to think this way because, for decades, we've been encouraged to eat whole grains without much distinction. But not all grains or grain-like foods are created equal. A lot of folks in their 70s and beyond assume that if it's whole wheat bread or brown rice, that's the healthiest choice, and everything else is either too expensive or too complicated. George, who is 72 and recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, believed that switching from white bread to wheat bread would be enough to stabilize his glucose levels. He felt disappointed when his blood sugar readings stayed higher than he liked, and he began to think managing diabetes might demand giving up many foods he enjoyed. Rather than just accept the situation, George looked for alternatives that would still allow him to indulge in hearty, satisfying meals. He discovered quinoa in a small bulk food section at his local grocery store. At first, he thought it looked too much like birdseed to possibly taste good or be easy to cook. But when he tried it, he found a pleasantly nutty flavor and a texture that reminded him of couscous. Plus, it didn't give him the same post-meal spikes that rice sometimes did. Emerging nutrition research suggests that quinoa's blend of protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals can support steadier blood sugar because it digests more slowly than refined carbohydrates. In practical terms, that could mean fewer energy crashes and a bit more predictability with each meal. If you're considering giving quinoa a chance, think of it like a blank canvas. You can cook it in vegetable broth, add herbs, or top it with sautéed onions and mushrooms to create a fulfilling side dish or even a main meal. Some folks like to mix quinoa with beans and vegetables for a one-bowl dinner that's rich in nutrients. The important part is to explore different seasonings that appeal to you: garlic, pepper, or even a dash of chili flakes if you enjoy a little spice. Many seniors worry they'll have to give up taste for health, but with quinoa, you might actually gain new flavors and creative possibilities in your cooking routine. On top of that, the physical benefit is a more measured release of energy, which can help stabilize not only your blood sugar, but also your mood. Feeling that steadiness can be emotionally uplifting. There's comfort in knowing you can enjoy something hearty without the guilt or worry. One step to get started is to replace half your usual serving of rice or pasta with quinoa. If you normally eat half a cup of rice, try making a quarter cup of rice and a quarter cup of quinoa instead. Notice how your body feels afterward. Do you experience fewer highs and lows? This small swap might open up the door to more variety and better glucose control. If you're unsure, consider having a conversation with your healthcare provider to see if there are any specific guidelines you should follow, especially if you're on medications for diabetes. Listening to your body and staying in tune with how certain foods affect you is a key part of feeling more empowered in your health journey. Now let's address another misconception. Quinoa is too pricey and too unfamiliar for everyday cooking. Many seniors who live on fixed incomes or tight budgets fear that choosing healthier foods always means spending more money. This can be a big roadblock, especially if you're also juggling other medical or living expenses. Luis, who is 68, recalls seeing small bags of quinoa on store shelves for what seemed like an exorbitant price, so she never bothered to try it. She assumed it was some fancy health food reserved for younger folks or celebrities, but she learned that you can often find quinoa at more reasonable prices in the bulk section, online, or at discount grocery stores if you keep an eye out. Sometimes it's about exploring stores you may not usually visit or checking weekly sales. Another financial-friendly approach is to buy a small quantity first. That way, you can test recipes without committing to a big bag. Louise started by buying just enough quinoa to make 2 servings. She experimented with a simple recipe. She rinsed the quinoa under cold water, then cooked it in chicken broth with a pinch of salt and herbs. To her surprise, she found herself enjoying the subtle, earthy flavor. She also calculated that her meal wasn't much more expensive than if she'd used rice, maybe just a few extra cents per serving. Once she realized that, she felt more comfortable making quinoa a staple in her pantry. The key insight here is that while quinoa can appear more expensive pound for pound, its nutritional density often means you need smaller portions to feel satisfied. If cost is still a concern, consider pairing quinoa with more budget-friendly ingredients. Vegetables like peas, carrots, or onions can stretch your dish without adding much expense. You could also mix quinoa with other whole grains, such as barley or bulgur, to get a blend of textures and flavors while reducing the overall cost of your meal. This approach not only makes meals more economical, but also adds variety to your diet, so you don't get stuck in a rut. Beyond the financial aspect, this variety can have emotional benefits too. It's nice to know you have multiple options at your disposal, which can encourage you to try new recipes and keep your meals interesting. Feeling less restricted can boost your mood and help you see that healthy eating doesn't have to be bland or monotonous. Give some thought to your pantry staples. Are there a couple of items you rarely use, or maybe some snacks you buy out of habit, even though they don't bring you much nutritional value? Consider reallocating that portion of your grocery budget towards small purchases of quinoa, fresh veggies, or low-sodium broths. Every small shift in spending can open doors to more nutrient-rich meals. Before we move on, take a moment to think about any preconceived notions you might have about health foods being too pricey. Have you ever found something surprisingly affordable when you looked in a different store or different section of your usual supermarket? Now let's explore a common worry many seniors with diabetes have. I need to avoid most carbs to manage my blood sugar. This belief can lead people to drastically cut carbs to the point where they struggle to get sufficient fiber and essential nutrients. James, who was 74, was so worried about carbs that he was eating mostly eggs, lean meat, and green salads. While that helped bring his blood sugar down initially, he found he was constantly hungry and craving something more satisfying. His doctor reminded him that not all carbohydrates are harmful. Some, like the complex carbs in quinoa, can actually fit neatly into a well-balanced diet. Quinoa can be a friend rather than a foe to your blood sugar, largely because of its low glycemic index relative to more refined grains. This means your blood sugar rises more slowly after eating it, which is a major plus for diabetes management. Unlike foods that give you a quick spike and then a crash, quinoa releases its energy at a steadier pace. James started by adding just a small portion of quinoa to his lunch, a third of a cup, alongside grilled chicken and steamed vegetables. He felt more satisfied and noticed he wasn't scrounging for snacks an hour later. Over time, he was able to reduce his reliance on processed snack bars, which often contain hidden sugars. The physical benefit here is clear: stable blood sugar. But there's also a crucial emotional aspect. When you're not waging war against hunger pangs and cravings, you may feel calmer, more in control, and more willing to maintain healthier habits. It's empowering to realize that you don't have to eliminate carbohydrates altogether. You just need to be strategic about which ones you choose. Think of quinoa as a tool in your toolkit. Just as you wouldn't try to fix everything in your house with one screwdriver, you don't need to rely solely on one dietary approach. Quinoa can be one choice among many, but it's an especially valuable one for those with diabetes because it helps strike a balance between enjoying a hearty meal and managing blood sugar effectively. If you're intrigued by this approach, you might try a quinoa breakfast bowl. Cook a small batch of quinoa with a dash of cinnamon or nutmeg, then top it with a few berries or slices of banana and a sprinkle of chopped nuts. It's a different way to enjoy a warm breakfast without the sugar overload that can come from processed cereals or pastries. While you do this, pay attention to how your energy levels and mood respond later in the morning. If you notice fewer energy dips, that's a sign you're on the right track. Remember, it's always wise to monitor your blood sugar levels if you're trying something new, especially if you take medication that influences glucose. Talk with your healthcare provider to make sure you adjust portions as needed so you don't experience unexpected fluctuations in blood sugar. Next, let's challenge the idea that cooking quinoa is complicated or time-consuming. Many of us grew up with straightforward staples like rice or pasta and assume anything else must be more difficult. Marianne, who is 76, absolutely loves to cook. She was curious about quinoa, but avoided it for months because she thought it involved fussy preparation. When she finally decided to try it, she was amazed that it cooked faster than rice and required about as much effort. Essentially, boil water or broth, add quinoa, let it simmer for about 15 minutes, and fluff it with a fork. Her biggest tip was to remember to rinse the quinoa under cold water before cooking to wash away its slightly bitter outer coating, known as saponin. If you're someone who tires easily or has limited mobility, rest assured that preparing quinoa isn't any more taxing than preparing other common grains. In fact, it can be easier on days when you want something nutritious without a lot of fuss. You can also make a larger batch at once and store leftovers in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 days. This is especially handy if you prefer making meals in advance. You can reheat quinoa quickly in the microwave or on the stovetop with a splash of broth, so it's ready to be paired with sautéed vegetables, baked fish, or chicken whenever you want a swift, satisfying meal. On a physical level, having quick, healthy options on hand can make a huge difference in how consistent you are with your diet, especially if you're managing diabetes. When the healthier choice is just as convenient as fast food or processed snacks, you're more likely to stick to your plans for stable blood sugar. Emotionally, there's relief in knowing you're not faced with a mountain of prep work. You can relax, enjoy your downtime, or focus your energy on other meaningful activities, like a call with your grandchildren or a gentle walk outside, rather than spending hours in the kitchen. If you're still unsure, consider doing a quick practice run. Rinse a small amount of quinoa, about a quarter cup. Bring half a cup of water or broth to a low boil. Stir in your rinsed quinoa. reduce the heat to simmer, and cover for 15 minutes. Then turn off the heat and let it sit for 5 minutes before fluffing with a fork. Try it as a side dish with a simple seasoning like salt, pepper, or dried basil. Once you see how easy it is, you might find yourself turning to it more often. Before we go on, think about the last time you tried a new recipe. Did you worry it might be too difficult or too bland? You might surprise yourself by how quickly you can learn to incorporate quinoa into your routine. Finally, let's address a key emotional hurdle some seniors face when changing their diet. I don't want to lose the joy of eating. This concern is valid. Food is culturally and personally significant. It's part of family gatherings, holidays, and comforting routines. Sometimes the fear of losing those cherished moments can hold people back from adopting healthier habits. Dolores, who is 80, felt depressed when her doctor suggested she cut back on her favorite pies and pastries. She associated food with love and community, especially around her grandchildren. The idea of a restrictive diet made her worry she'd be missing out on life's pleasures. Here's where quinoa can help bridge the gap. Instead of framing it as a strict health food, consider it a way to expand your culinary repertoire. Dolores began experimenting with quinoa-based recipes, like a savory quinoa pilaf for Thanksgiving or quinoa-based casseroles for Sunday brunch. She even whipped up a quinoa dessert by sweetening it lightly with fruit and a bit of cinnamon. She noticed that her family members, intrigued by the novelty, started requesting Grandma's quinoa dish at gatherings. This shift gave Dolores a sense of pride and relief. She wasn't losing her connection to family meals. She was creating a new tradition that everyone could enjoy together. When you find ways to keep food exciting and tasty, the emotional benefits can be profound. You're no longer just following doctor's orders. You're reclaiming control over your life, embracing new flavors, and staying open to positive changes. That sense of empowerment often extends beyond the kitchen. It can encourage you to engage more with your community, take your daily walks, or try a senior fitness class. Each step you take toward healthier choices can reinforce your confidence in other areas of life, creating a positive cycle of well-being. If you're feeling inspired to maintain the joy of eating while also caring for your health, try involving friends or family in the process. Plan a small get-together where everyone brings a dish featuring quinoa. This fosters a supportive atmosphere and can be a lot of fun. Seeing how others interpret the same ingredient can spark your creativity. You might discover a new favorite recipe that satisfies your taste buds while helping keep your blood sugar on a more even keel. By now you've heard about how quinoa can challenge the assumption that all grains are equal, why it doesn't have to break the bank, why you shouldn't fear all carbohydrates, how cooking it can be simpler than expected, and how it can spark genuine joy in your meals. These insights aren't just about a single ingredient. They represent a broader approach to food and self-care, one that embraces both nutrition and the pleasure of eating. If you followed along this far, you might be feeling a sense of possibility. Maybe for the first time, you can imagine a style of eating that supports your blood sugar management without leaving you deprived of flavor and fulfillment. It's helpful to take a moment and absorb what we've covered. The simple act of swapping out or mixing in quinoa instead of a more refined grain could be the first step toward more predictable energy levels and fewer unwanted fluctuations in your glucose readings. Knowing that it's budget-friendly when purchased wisely can ease any financial concerns. Realizing you don't have to shun all carbohydrates can free you from a restrictive mindset. Understanding how quick and easy it is to prepare might reduce anxiety about tackling new ingredients, and discovering its versatility in creating joyful, meaningful meals can combat any lingering fear that a healthier diet means a duller life. If there's one thing to keep in mind, it's that small changes can add up over time. You don't need to become a quinoa expert overnight. Try incorporating it once a week, see how you feel, and slowly increase from there if it resonates with you. If you notice your energy stabilizing and your mood lifting, that may be the signal you need to keep going. Of course, if you have any special medical considerations or if you're on medication that requires precise blood sugar control, be sure to check in with your healthcare provider. This is about finding what works for your unique situation, not following a one-size-fits-all plan. Perhaps you're thinking, I'll try it someday. But consider that every day you wait might be another day you're missing out on the potential benefits of balanced, satisfying meals. There's no need to rush into massive changes, but taking a small action, like picking up a tiny bag of quinoa on your next grocery trip, could set a positive chain of events in motion. When you experience a more stable blood sugar reading or a smoother day of energy, you'll likely feel motivated to keep building on that progress. Imagine your life a few weeks from now. You open your pantry to find not just the usual staples, but also a jar of quinoa ready to be turned into something nourishing. You feel a bit more confident in the kitchen and a bit more assured that you're making choices that support your body's needs. As you sit down to dinner, you realize you're genuinely looking forward to trying a new recipe you found, or perhaps one that a friend shared. It might be a simple shift, but it's one that can bring tangible rewards. More energy for the activities you love, fewer spikes and dips in blood sugar, and the comforting knowledge that you're taking proactive steps toward preserving your independence and well-being. Now that you're equipped with these insights, there are different ways you can move forward. If you're feeling adventurous, your first step might be to try a quinoa recipe for dinner tonight. Or perhaps you want to start more modestly by scouting local stores or online shops for the best quinoa deals. You might even join a community cooking class or invite a friend over to experiment with a few recipes, turning it into a social experience that doubles as a healthy lifestyle boost. If you prefer a more cautious approach, simply talk to your doctor or a dietitian about how quinoa might fit into your meal plan. Whichever path you choose, know that you're making a choice that respects both your love of good food and your body's need for balanced nutrition. Never forget that you are the ultimate decision maker in your own life. You've accumulated a wealth of wisdom and experience over the years. Now it's time to apply that wisdom to your eating habits. Embrace the possibility that change can be enjoyable, not just necessary. As you explore new ingredients and cooking methods, you're not just managing a condition, you're celebrating life's many flavors. Here's to making the most of every meal and every moment. You've got this, and you deserve it.